Alrighty, welcome back fellas. We're just a few short days away from the 10th anniversary, so before it begins, I want to go ahead and rank the top 10 LRs going into the anniversary itself. You see the setup, you see the characters, I am ready for this. I hope you guys are excited, and I hope you guys will enjoy the vid. If you do, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your thoughts. Let's go ahead and just get right into this. So, let's start off with our number 10 spot. That is going to be going to Cell Max. Now, with Cell Max, I would say there's two things I like about Cell Max and two things I don't like about Cell Max in terms of his design. So, starting with the positives, one of the biggest things I like about him is his damage output. You know, between the super attack effects where he's boosting his attack in the turn, between his passive skill where he has a bunch of attack stat boosting, Cell Max can do a lot of damage, Oonga Boonga type damage, and I love to see it. You see it in clips, you see it in videos, it is so awesome, especially with dupes. Cell Max is one of, if not the best damage dealers in the game, so, you know, he's fantastic for that. The other thing I really do like about Cell Max, and I would probably argue this is the best thing about Cell Max, is that he has a taunt mechanic. You know, he's one of a rare set of units where he possesses a taunt mechanic. You know, think like 9th Anniversary Beast Gohan or Gogeta Blue, right? You know, those units with a taunt mechanic, they're able to protect their team for one turn. Now, unfortunately, yes, it is only for one turn, but in that turn, the whole team is safe. It is so easy to work with. It is so nice to use. And Cell Max, he may have one, if not the best taunts in the game, because not only is he doing damage, he's also taunting for that turn where he's boosting his defense by 999%. And that's going to do two things for Cell Max. The first thing is that he is safe from AoEs, supers, all of it, because of that defensive boost. The other thing is that basically with one STR orb alone, Cell Max within that turn is going to be a free sensu bean for you because the defensive stat boosts are going to make you heal so much through your STR type orbs. So that is a massive W for Cell Max. I still think that this is probably the best thing about him, and it is just so clutch for sure when it comes to the different teams you want to run him with. So I really do love Cell Max in terms of him having a taunt and also just him having crazy damage output. Now, in contrast to that, I do have two things I dislike about Cell Max. One of them is his lack of categorical diversity. So, you see right here, he's only on 7 categories. Now, that alone does kind of bother me because as a free-to-play player, you know, you want a unit where they fit onto so many different categories that you can use them in so many different options and get a lot of return value from the unit themselves, and so you want more categorical diversity. Cell Max only being on 7 categories, that is not to my liking personally, but also beyond that, he only really wants to work within a few of these categories. So, artificial life forms, super bosses, movie bosses, maybe uncontrollable power because a lot of these units right here fit into one of these other 3 categories. But you know, you want to work them with these specific categories because in order to do so, right, in order to maximize Cell Max's value, you need to run him with those teammates so that way he can get those defensive boosts, the damage reduction, so he can get his intro. So you need those things to happen. So, you know, being categorically limited as Cell Max is, although he's on some really good teams, you know, I wish he was able to at least work within all 7 of his categories, and also I wish he had more categories to work with in general. But, you know, androids, final trump card, Battle of Fate, you really don't want to run Cell Max on those teams, so that really does suck for sure. The other thing is that, you know, ironically, while Cell Max for me is a great damage dealer, I don't feel that he has great defensive stack capabilities. And really, I think a big reason why is because he's not boosting his defense with his super attacks. So if he was boosting his defense with his super attack effects, then he'll be perfectly fine in my opinion. But not doing so, he's really reliant on his passive skill, right? And yes, he has a bunch of defensive stats right here, but the problem is, you know, for like this example right here, you need to receive attacks in order to boost his defense. So that does kind of suck to start things off. His intro right here is the only place where he has guaranteed guard. Once the intro is gone in 3 turns, he no longer has guard, so that is a missing piece in his defensive capability, which I wish he had. And also, he only has 30% damage reduction. Now, that's still pretty decent, especially with his stats. But if he had like 40%, maybe 50%, maybe he'd be a bit broken, I guess, but still, that would be a lot better. Because there are many times where I use Cell Max, and then he'll just get destroyed out of nowhere because one turn he's fine, the next turn he's just getting completely mollywopped because a new phase is activated or something. So, Cell Max, yeah, I'm not a big fan of his defensive capabilities all the time. I think with more dupes, he'll be more fine, but, you know, especially at 55% or something, he's not that great as I would like to see him do in terms of defensive tanking in certain situations. So that would be my critique for Cell Max. And honestly, between those different reasonings, that's why I have Cell Max at number 10, as opposed to putting him any higher on this list. However, I will say he does deserve to be a top 10 unit, especially as a yellow coin LR, because this guy is still crazy to this day as we go into the 10th anniversary. Now, moving on to the number 9 spot, we have a personal favorite of mine with Tech UI Goku. Now, I am a big fan of Tech UI Goku because this guy has so many things built into his kit, so many things to offer, right? For one, with his super attack effects, not only is he boosting his attack and defense, he's also able to provide support support to his allies. Beyond that, he has a very easy intro skill to activate just one other Universe Survival Saga ally on the team. He has nice stats right here, built-in crit chance, built-in dodge, built-in damage reduction, built-in guard, built-in additionals. He has everything that you want to see in a unit when it comes to designing a kit, and you love to see it. And this is only in his base form. In his MUI form, he becomes a completely different beast. Dialed up to 11, 12, 13, whatever you want to do, he is crazy when he becomes MUI Goku. Not only is he still able to provide support to his allies, he's also disabling enemy guard at times. He has better stats, better damage reduction. You know, he's got overall just better ki and everything, so he's just a fantastically powerful unit. And also, now he's able to counter with tremendous power. He's increasing his crit chance right here, so all of this is just great stuff. And honestly, the counters are one of the best things about MUI Goku, because he's able to do so much damage, you know, doing his own super attack effects and everything. He can do a lot of damage with all of the counters and everything, so this is just so huge. Of course, after evading an attack, by the way, it doesn't matter if it's a super, an AoE attack, a regular normal, he's countering. So this is all really good. And also, if his HP is 50% or less, he's even further boosting his attack, making sure to do even more crazy work. So this guy is awesome. And also for the first turn that he does show up, right, he's got guaranteed dodge against every single attack, which is going to allow him to counter everything. And also, he's even giving allies a chance to dodge as well. So yeah, MUI Goku is really crazy. Something that's kind of like a bit niche when it comes to him specifically, I suppose, but something I want to mention is that when he becomes MUI Goku, his link skills allow him to work perfectly with AGL MUI Goku. So honestly, being able to do that is really awesome, because AGL MUI Goku is still very good in a lot of situations. Having a perfect link partner with Tech UI right here, that's just a fantastic chef's kiss. Also, there's one other thing that we really didn't talk about, but you know, with this whole transformation into MUI Goku, Goku will also activate a domain, and what makes this so special is Goku's domain is the only one where it will re-enable dodge. There are certain fights where if you take, you know, a team versus Go Frieza or Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta from the Tournament of Power, like Blue Zone stages, they will disable dodge, right? Tech UI is the only character where if you activate his domain and transform him into MUI Goku, he's able to re-allow dodge to be activated by your allies. So that is so clutch right there. And honestly, I love MUI Goku and Tech UI Goku as a whole. Now, there are certain flaws about him. You know, a lot of people don't like Tech UI Goku for two reasons. One is his base form is still pretty susceptible to damage. If you're not lucky, if he's not dodging, you know, he can take a lot of damage. So that is something that's a bit of a problem as well. He can definitely lose you some runs as a base form. The other thing is that people don't like his activation condition right here. This takes 5 turns from his first appearance, so basically by turn 5 up to turn 7, you have to wait for Tech UI before you can transform him. So that does suck because you're waiting on this base form. You want to go into MUI because MUI is so beastly, so broken in some ways. So, you know, in that sort of sense, you know, those are the two big issues when it comes to Tech UI. That's honestly the reasons why I have him at number 9, but still, I'm a big fan of this unit. I love this unit so much. He's so good. He's also on a lot of categories, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19 categories. Categorical diversity at his finest. He can work on all of these teams, by the way, so this is all chef's kiss. I love Tech UI so much. He is so awesome for sure. Alright, next up at number 8, we're going to have Dokkan Fest and Broly. Now, honestly, I wish I could put Int Broly a bit higher on this list, but you know, Int Broly, there are certain flaws about him. However, this Broly is very cool because he may be the only Broly to my memory who actually exists to support his allies more than himself. Usually Brolys, they're all about doing their own damage, tanking themselves, and that's it. But this Broly, he's providing support to his allies. He's got a revive right down here. He's guarding. He's an orb changer. He's providing more support to his uncontrollable power allies when his revival is activated. So this character is really interesting in terms of how his design works, and he's really, really good in that sort of regard. He has really nice damage reduction. He's got healing right here per type's key sphere, so this unit is very dope for sure. He's got a nice domain right here where it's only 3 turns, so only having a 3-turn domain is really fantastic. It doesn't last too long. You can go to another domain right afterwards, so we love to see that. Of course, he's orb changing within the domain itself. You know, he's guarding all attacks, and also, you know, once the domain is over, he's still going to be more powerful after the whole domain is gone. So, you know, this guy is he's just an insane character for sure. I will say, you know, when it comes to what I dislike about Broly, it comes down to the fact that Broly himself individually is not putting out and not tanking as well as I would like to see him do. So he's not putting out as much damage as I would like to see him do, and he's not tanking that well. You see right here, of course, he's able to massively raise his stats for 1 turn, but still, you know, he's not necessarily having the greatest damage output, the greatest tank ability. So if anything, Broly, you know, he makes his teammates so much better, but then at the same time, he ends up somehow, in some ways, being your weak link, because he's the one who can take a lot of damage, he's the one who can get hurt, especially in slot 1, so those are things to consider for sure. I'm not a big fan of him having a gambling chance in terms of further raising his defense here, further massively raising his attack right here with the 18 key. I'm not a big fan of that potential chance right there, so that is definitely annoying for me. But still, you know, Broly, he's a very powerful unit, a very fun unit. You know, I mean, he leads Uncontrollable Power, which is a really powerful category, so, you know, we love to see that. And also, he's on some nice categories, you know, Uncontrollable Power, of course, Movie Bosses, Planetary Destruction, Pure Saiyans, Full Power, so this guy is on some really awesome categories. I'm excited to see what he can do with the 10th anniversary, because the Tech Gods will be getting their EZA. They lead Power Beyond Super Saiyan, so maybe Broly can find a way there somehow. I doubt it, but that would be pretty funny, of course. But yeah, for the time being, Broly at number 8, I think that's a perfect spot for him. Okay, so moving on to number 7, that is going to be going to another familiar face with the Tech Carnival Broly. And honestly, I wish I could put Broly a bit higher, but I think 7 is perfectly fine for him specifically. And Broly, you know, this character is really cool because he starts off in this base form Broly. He's not doing any attacks, but for the first turn that he shows up, you know, you have the choice to transform him into the legendary Super Saiyan or leave him in the base form. And for the first turn that he shows up in the base form, he has an insane amount of damage reduction. He has defense, he's guarding all attacks. He is so good. And also, he's providing support to his extreme class allies right there as well. So all of that is really good stuff. Now, once you transform him, then he becomes a completely different kind of beast for the rest of the fight, because he's greatly stacking his attack with his 18 key, he's raising attack and defense for the 1 turn with his 12 key, his 18 key, by the way, is an AoE super, so that's really dope, of course. This guy is just so powerful. He's honestly built to be a slot 1 unit, right? He's got damage reduction up the yin-yang, even more damage reduction for the first few turns, he's boosting his stats, he's boosting his defense before he attacks and guards all attacks, guaranteed as the first slot unit, guaranteed supers in the 2nd or 3rd slot, you know, boosting his crit chance versus certain types of enemies, disabling enemy action once when the key is 24, so all of this is just so good. It's so awesome, and honestly, I love to see Broly just putting out so much damage and everything. This guy can do a lot of work even at 55%, so this guy is awesome. 200%, by the way, leader for movie bosses, which is a fantastic category, so this guy is really great. Also, his active skill. This is one of those active skills where I don't know if there's ever a reason why you should never use this active skill. I don't know if there's a reason where you probably will want to avoid it, but, you know, boosting your stats in the whole battle, that is so clutch and can be activated from the next attacking turn after he becomes a legendary Super Saiyan. That is so good. Also on a lot of nice categories, of course, movie bosses, Pure Saiyans, Full Power, Power Beyond Super Saiyan, so all of this is just fantastic stuff. Honestly, I prefer this Broly over the whole Dokkan Fest Int Broly because, yes, the Int Broly has the revival, he has more support to the other allies, but to be fair, a lot of those other units, they don't need Broly to help them out. They would benefit from it, but they don't require Dokkan Fest Int Broly to really make themselves work. For Tech Broly, he's not necessarily helping them as much, but he is still taking care of business in slot 1 so that your other units will be a-okay in slot 2 and slot 3. They don't have to worry about the responsibility of tanking those attacks in slot 1 before they can go off and go crazy. So, you know, Tech Carnival Broly, he's going to go ahead and be number 7 for me. Number 6 is going to be going to an interesting spot right here, but number 6 is going to belong to the new Carnival LR Gotenks. This is not the right image, but Carnival LR Gotenks is going to be my number 6 spot. Honestly, when I first saw him, I was thinking he could be like top 3, maybe like top 5 at minimum, but over time, I've been slowly and surely just pulling him more and more down on the list. And when it comes to Gotenks, he is insane. He is insanely cracked as a Carnival LR to end off 2024. He was so dope. I mean, he's not boosting his attack throughout the turns and everything, but he's got crazy damage output. He's got so many great abilities. He has a 200% lead for Majin Buu Saga, which is one of the best categories right now. You can go ahead and debate me, I don't care. Majin Buu Saga, him leading that is so dope. And he's got some really nice abilities, right? Being able to randomly change key orbs into rainbow key spheres, boosting his key. When he's receiving an attack, you know, he's boosting his defense. After taking an attack, he's boosting his attack as well. Damage reduction, when there's another final trump card ally on the team, just one of them, he's boosting his damage reduction, his defense. He's able to boost his stats even more as his key increases, so this guy's awesome. When receiving a super, a high chance to have a defensive boost of 777%, and also key blast supers, he can counter, boost his damage reduction. This guy is very strong and very straightforward because there's no transformations about him, right? He just starts off as a Super Saiyan 3. Now, when it comes to what I don't like about Gotenks, right, we didn't talk about his active skill, but his active skill is pretty good as well, very easy to access, boosting that defense for 1 turn, which it should be multiplicative, so that's really good as well. But when it comes to what I don't like about Gotenks, why I have him so low on this list specifically, you know, it comes down to the fact that he has some chances to be great defensively, and other times he can get exposed. And really, the reason why is because in slot 1, where you likely want to put him, when he receives a super attack, he has a high chance to get that defense. If that doesn't happen, then he's going to be taking some serious damage. You know, he doesn't have the best damage reduction overall. He does have some nice stuff going for him, but yeah, in slot 1, he can take some good damage for sure if this hold doesn't work out for him with the high chance and everything. So, you know, for Gotenks, it sucks to say, but I think number 6 is a perfectly good spot for him. I will acknowledge, though, this guy is fantastic when it comes to categorical diversity. The only thing that's forced for him is that you need one other final trump card ally for this damage reduction, which is actually pretty important. But if you can meet this, you know, he fits onto Majin Buu Saga, Fusion, Hyper Saiyans, so many powerful categories, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19 categories, just like Tekkei Goku, I believe. So, yeah, this guy is, he's a fantastic character, a lot of categories he can work with, a very fun character for sure with the damage output. But in terms of, you know, his failings and everything, I think number 6 is a perfect spot for him. I think it's like a nice kind of average placement for Gotenks, who at times can be average and at other times can be goated. Moving on now to our number 5 spot, right? Going into our top 5. Number 5 is going to be going to Janemba. Now, I gotta be honest, even I myself, I need to start putting more respect on Janemba's name, because at first you may not think Janemba is that crazy, but when you think about what he's actually providing, what he actually does, he is so clutch in so many situations. Now, his super attack effects, he's only boosting attack and defense for 1 turn, so not too crazy there, but his passive skill is bonkers. Now, with the basic effects, right, 166% to his attack and defense, not the best that we've seen, but not too bad. Guards all attacks guaranteed, we love to see that. 22% to damage reduction, we love to see that. For the first turn that he shows up, guaranteed additional, that's a great chance to become a super, so that's kind of like whatever in terms of his kit. For every attack he's performing, he's boosting his stats, boosting his ki, which is great for an LR, boosting his crit chance, so built-in crit chance right there up to 66%, that is really awesome. When attacking with 22 or more ki, he's boosting his attack even more, and also, he is able to work as a first, second slot, or third slot unit with different kinds of mechanics. So, in the first slot or second slot where you want him to tank more often, he's getting another boost to his damage reduction. As the second or third slot unit, he's getting an additional attack that's a great chance to become a super, where if he does so, he's boosting his attack and defense, making him even more tanky in those other positions. Now, obviously, because of the way it's set up here, the best slot for Janemba is his second slot, because second slot is where he's getting the additional and the damage reduction, but you can work him in any 3 of the slots. Also, when receiving Ki Blast Super, he has a great chance to nullify. When in general receiving a super attack, he has a high chance to evade the enemy's attack temporarily, so yeah, this guy is really awesome. And he still is not done. He has a Rage mode, which is honestly really, really insane. So we go into the Rage mode, right, by the way, which is really easy to do, right? Can be activated when HP is 66% or more starting from the 6th turn. So we go into the Rage mode, and this guy is really, really crazy because his damage is so crazy, but also he's able to change orbs all to physical type orbs, and as you see right here, for every key sphere he's obtaining, he's boosting his attack by 16%. So not only is he a nuker type unit, he's feeding himself his own nuking orbs. So this guy is just crazy, crazy damage in his rage form. The only criticism for him, for me, is I wish his rage form were more than 1 turn, but you know, for that 1 turn, he's doing some really great stuff, of course, and then we go back to Janemba, and he is still just picking up right back where he left off, just doing his thing, just tanking, doing his damage. He's just a great unit. And also, he's on some really important categories, of course, like movie bosses. Movie bosses without Janemba, I don't even feel like it's the same category without Janemba. It's honestly that important how Janemba is. Transformation boost, you know, corroded body and mind, which is very good to have Janemba there. Uncontrollable power, accelerated battle, so yeah. Janemba, fantastic character. Honestly, in my opinion, maybe one of the most underrated LRs. Definitely one of the most underrated LRs for me personally. I've been definitely disrespecting him, but now I gotta respect him, and I gotta put him at number 5 because that is actually where I think he deserves to be. Next up, our final 4. So let me just say, I think all 4 of these LRs are worthy of being in the number 1 spot, depending on what you like in the unit and how much you like that specific thing. But for me, number 4 is going to be going to the Physical Super Saiyan Trio. Now, I actually really do love this unit. They're one of the most fun units I've had throughout the entirety of the last year, right, 2024. But, you know, when it comes to them, I think number 4 is the right spot for them. But their leader skill is pretty good, all-out struggle, Super Saiyan's power wishes. Their super attack effects are decent to pretty good, I would say, not necessarily overpowered. But the 18 key boosting their attack and defense for 3 turns, providing support to superclass allies, that is really good. Their 12 key debuffing is really nice. I wish they could boost their defense with a 12 key. But, you know, that's like the only major gripe I would say when it comes to the super attack effects. They're still pretty decent, I would say. But really, you know, the passive skill, as many of you already know, the passive skill is what makes this unit so good. You know, they have really nice stat boosts right there. Boosting allies is key, and attack percentages right there with additional support. They're an orb changing type of unit, so that's really good for them. They want to get more key because the more key they get, they're boosting their defense, they're boosting their attack percentages, they're getting additionals, they're getting attacks effective against all types. So they want ki, and they are able to get it because of their own orb changing, because of their link set. So this unit is kind of self-sufficient to a degree in that sort of regard, unless you're deliberately trying to avoid getting them their ki. So that's something right there. But really what makes this unit so good, as many of you already know, is this final clause right here. When there's another movie heroes or all-out struggle ally in the same turn, they're not only boosting their damage reduction by 15%, they're also giving all allies defense plus 77% for 2 turns. Now, if you take 2 physical trio leads, right, your self lead and a friend lead, this defensive boost is going through the roof. And this is what makes this unit so valuable. And for me, I think if you're trying to argue the trio being the #1 unit in the game, the only way you can do so is to argue that their support is so important and so valuable that it trumps everything. Because, you know, with that support, they make a lot of irrelevant units more valuable once again. I mean, think about characters like, you know, Super Saiyan 4 Tanabata Goku. That unit was not good at all coming into 2024 after the 9th anniversary meta shift and everything. That unit aged out pretty badly for a lot of situations. But with the trio support, with the double leads and everything, that unit now is actually pretty runnable in a lot of fights in the right positions and everything because of the support that this unit is providing. So, you know, if you're trying to justify the trio being the #1 unit, I would say the only way to do so is to say that that support is so important. It makes everything change. And honestly, I'm a big fan of the support myself. You know, there are a lot of characters I have that I love to use that I could not necessarily use without the trio and their support. So that's a big plus for them. But also, we're still not done. You know, the trio, they're on some nice categories, of course, all-out struggle, Super Saiyans, Power Wishes, of course, but movie heroes, Kamehameha, Warriors Raised on Earth, and Trusted Will. So, you know, they're on some really good categories, of course. And also, they have a standby. I mean, we didn't really talk about the standby, but it's so easy to get into. Can be done when HP is 77% or less, or starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle. Goes in the standby for 3 turns, which is very minor type of timing right there. And right here, this unit is an insanely good defensive tank right here, because they're guarding all attacks. You know, they're changing orbs once again. They're able to boost their defense for every 3 ki. They're boosting their damage reduction when ki is 24. Also, you know, for every ki sphere they're obtaining, they're still boosting their defense. They're giving allies defensive support once again, and they still have a really powerful finish skill when they go ahead and go into that miraculous punch. So, you know, this unit is really good. Again, and when it comes to what makes this unit so special, I think you have to really focus on the base form right here, not really the standby, and you really have to key in on the defensive support. That's really what makes this unit so special. But for me, why I have them at #4 as opposed to being any higher on this list is really because I think all 3 of the other LRs are personally better in my opinion. And also, I will say, you know, the trio, they are susceptible to taking a lot of damage, especially in slot 1. Nowadays, you're better off putting them in slot 2. So, you know, that kind of situation does really put them in #4 for me, as opposed to putting them any higher on this list. Next up, for the #3 spot, we're going to have a fan favorite for a lot of people here, but for me, #3 is going to be going to Beast Gohan. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say Beast Gohan automatically should go #1 best LR in the game, but for me, I think 3 is the right spot for him. And honestly, it is a testament to Beast Gohan that, you know, he is a 9th anniversary LR. He came out back in February, so it's almost been a year since he's been out, and he is still great to this day. And, you know, he's still competing for the #1 LR spot for a lot of people, including myself. And, you know, Beast Gohan is still a fantastic unit. You know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. He is like a jack of all trades type of LR with so many things to offer, and he does them all pretty well. His leader skill, you know, we don't need to talk about too much, but leading superheroes is fantastic. Now, to be fair, superheroes hasn't seen a lot of love recently. However, it is still very powerful. It is kind of top heavy with LRs, but it is still a great team, especially with Beast Gohan leading that category. Beyond that, you know, we're talking about the super attack effects. The 12 key is kind of whatever. The 18 key, I think, is a bit underappreciated when it comes to Gohan, because he's stacking his attack, he's raising his defense for 4 turns. Both of those mechanics are really good. The unit super, kind of similar to the 18 key. You don't need the unit super for Beast Gohan to be good, but being able to raise allies' crit chance right there, being able to disable enemy action, those are nice things to have as well. And the passive skill. This is Gohan's bread and butter. At least one of the best parts about Gohan is just looking at what his passive skill has to offer, right? He has an intro right here, no conditions on the intro, but when it happens, he's boosting his crit chance and his damage reduction by 40% for the first 5 turns. Built-in guard, nice stat boost, giving himself additional ki per key sphere obtained, which is great for an LR. Boosting his crit chance, boosting his attack percentage when he attacks. When taking an attack, boosting his defense, boosting his damage reduction by 20% again when ki is 24. After taking said attack, he's giving allies ki +3 as support. You know, he's giving himself an additional guaranteed super, and this is really cool about him as well. For every attack he's receiving, he's boosting his ki, but also he's increasing his attack and crit chance by 20% within the turn itself. So all the attacks he takes before he does his supers, he's ramping himself up basically within the turn, allowing him to do more damage, which is really dope. And also right down here, after doing 5 or more attacks or receiving 8 or more attacks in battle, he's further boosting his crit chance and damage reduction by 20% and giving all of the other allies an additional ki +2 starting from the next attacking turn. So, you know, Beast Gohan, again, he has a lot of things to offer. Damage reduction, built-in guard, giving allies ki, giving himself built-in crit chance, built-in additionals. So, this guy is really awesome, of course, and we're still not done because Beast Gohan has one other really dope thing about him, and that is right down here with his taunt mechanic, right? One of the few characters with a taunt. And his taunt, I will say, I don't think it's the best taunt in the game, but it is still good that he has a taunt to begin with, because, for that taunt, he's giving himself the full ki right there, ki plus 24, boosting his defense, taking all the attacks, giving himself guaranteed crits within the turn, right? And this is such an easy condition right here. It can be activated starting from the turn after this character receives an attack. So, basically, turn 1, you get the turn right there with Beast, he takes a hit, turn 3, he comes back, he's got the taunt ready to go onward until you need him to do so. So, a very easy condition right there to meet, and honestly, the thing about this taunt is that you can kind of do a bit of like a quirky kind of trick kind of maneuver here where basically, with the taunt, you could put Beast Gohan in slot 3, and then you can use this mechanic to your advantage, because in turn 3, he's going to be taking all of the attacks from slot 1 and slot 2. That will further boost up his attack, making him do some crazy damage. So, you can do some interesting things with his taunt, or you could just put him in slot 1, slot 2 with the taunt, make sure to keep the rotations intact. So, honestly, the taunt is really good. It is a shame that's only for one turn, but still, that one turn, Beast Gohan is doing fantastic. And also, we didn't really cover it too much, but to re-emphasize this, right, the thing that makes Beast Gohan so special is that he is ready to fight out the gate. With that intro and everything, basically in turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, right out the get-go, he is ready to fight. There's no need for him to ramp up or transform or anything. He's just ready to go. And that honestly is one of the reasons why a lot of people love Beast Gohan so much, is they don't need to worry about him. They don't need to put in the effort to necessarily make him good, because he's going to start off already being good. And nowadays in a lot of fights, you need a character who is ready to handle himself out the gate, and Beast Gohan does that pretty much to a T. Also, if we're going to talk about his praise, right, he's on some nice categories for sure. 15 categories right here, plus the extra new one right here for the 10th anniversary. So, a lot of great stuff. Demonic Power. This is a massive category for Beast Gohan with Glorio and the support. Beast Gohan is eating so good. He's one of the best beneficiaries because of this category and Glorio and everything. So, honestly, Beast Gohan is eating so good. I'm curious to see what will happen with the 10th anniversary and the new category here, but yeah, Beast Gohan, definitely a fantastic character, definitely worthy of being top 3 nowadays, in my opinion. Now, why do I have him at number 3 as opposed to being any higher? That really comes down to some minor kind of gripes with him for me personally. One of the things is that I'm not really satisfied with his damage potential in general, right? And to be fair, a lot of people will say, you know what, Sky, Beast is supposed to be the defensive protector. He's not meant to be the damage dealer. And I absolutely understand that. I do agree with that to a great degree. However, he is still a 9th anniversary LR, the meta shift happened, and then ever since then, there have been so many other characters with crazy damage output relative to Beast Gohan, and honestly, it is kind of disappointing looking at Beast Gohan's damage output on an average kind of perspective, and seeing that compared to a lot of new characters in that sort of regard. So, if Beast Gohan's damage potential was a bit better overall, I would be a lot happier, but at the same time, I know that's not his role. It's just something that kind of bothers me when it comes to Beast Gohan. The other thing, and I think this is something I have a bit more of like a accurate kind of assessment when it comes to Beast Gohan in this sort of regard, is that there are situations where nowadays Beast Gohan can get tagged. Now, to be fair, he's ready to go out the gate. But, there are certain fights like Go Frieza, for example, where they may last more than 5 turns. And if that's the case, he's missing out on this 40% damage reduction right here. He's getting himself a bit weaker as longer fights kind of take place. So, the longer a fight goes, the more susceptible Beast Gohan is to getting hurt because he's losing the damage reduction and everything, so that does suck. The other thing is that this kind of receiving attack mechanic here, it is nice to have the boost to his damage reduction, but it does suck that this does not take place until after the first attack happens. So, basically, in a fight like, for example, Janemba or Gogeta, right, in certain situations, if the first attack that he takes is the super attack, he won't have this 20% damage reduction, and he still can take some damage. And nowadays, we're seeing Beast Gohans take, 300k, 400k from certain supers. And to be fair, that is still really good, but nowadays, we're seeing the age start to show. We're seeing Beast Gohan now taking some damage, where back in his heyday, he would be taking nothing. So, yeah, I think age is starting to catch up with Beast Gohan. I think there are some things about his kit where, depending on the type of fight and depending on the boss nowadays, he can get tagged. So those things do kind of concern me about Beast Gohan. And honestly, even though with the support and everything, I still think Beast is best placed at number 3 at this point in time as we go into the 10th anniversary. Alright, now on to our number 2 spot. So number 2 for me is going to be going to Carnival LR Gohan. And of course, it is kind of obvious now, but that does mean that number 1 is going to belong to Super Gogeta. In my opinion, the best LR in the game as we head into the 10th anniversary. So we'll talk about Gogeta in just a moment though, but focusing on Gohan, if you want to talk about why you could put Gohan at the number 1 spot, it really comes down to his damage potential and his standby being one of the best in the game, especially in terms of that damage potential. But this guy is honestly so crazy. So with a 12 and 18 key, he's boosting his attack and defense. 12 key has a high chance to stun. 18 keys provide support to his superclass allies, and his passive skill has so many dope things right here. So per attack he performs, he's increasing his key to an infinite level right there. He's boosting his attack, boosting his defense. For every super he performs, he's boosting his attack within the turn by a crazy amount right here. With 18 or more key, getting an additional, that's a great chance to become a super. 24 key, boosting his attack, boosting his additional guaranteed super right there. Attacks are effective against all types when HP is 77% or more. So this guy is honestly so crazy in general, and we're still not done, because when there's another Kamehameha or Warriors Raised on Earth category ally in the same turn, he has built-in guard, built-in boost to his key, and also a high chance to dodge if HP is 77% or less. So, you know, this guy is honestly really good. At first I was kind of concerned looking at his kit on release, where I thought he could be a bit trash because he didn't have a lick of damage reduction, but I was so wrong, because this guy is honestly so good in so many situations. The only time I will say where he can be a bit susceptible to damage, right, is the first turn that he shows up. You know, that would honestly be his weakest point, because in that first turn, especially in slot 1, Gohan, you know, he's not built up or anything, so he may be able to take a lot of damage and get himself honestly hurt really badly. But after that first turn, he is a-okay for the rest of the fight. Between the stats, between the guard, between the supers, he's just good to go for the rest of the fight. It's just that first turn where in slot 1, Gohan can take a lot of damage, so you do have to be careful in that sort of regard. But honestly, in his base form alone, Gohan is really crazy. Also, though, we do have the standby, we do have the categories, by the way. The categories are really good. I mean, obviously, Kamehameha, which he leads, but Hyper Saiyans, Majin Buu Saga, which is really dope, Full Power, Movie Heroes, Super Saiyans, you know, Defender of Justice, Demonic Power, which is great with Glorio, Warriors Raised on Earth, you know, Saviors, Goku's Family, Earth Protecting Heroes, which is the new 10th anniversary category, Power of Wishes. So this guy is on some really great stuff. And that standby, right, you know, can be done when HP is 77% or less, or starting from the third turn from the character's entry turn. So easy to go into the standby, stands by for 5 turns, and once he goes into the standby, this guy is built different. This guy is honestly insane. Of course, it makes sense because this is the power of family. Shout out to Dom Toretto right there in the Fast and Furious or whatever. But you know, Gohan with the baby brother, with the father right there. This guy is insane. You know, when the finish effect is not activated, right, he's unable to attack and everything, right? But he has guard against all attacks. He's, you know, he's boosting his attack per superclass ally in the same turn. When all allies in the same turn are superclass characters, he has 77% damage reduction. You know, when taking an attack, he's boosting his defense per key score that he obtains, and you know, this guy is so insane. With the finish effect, he's boosting his attack by 258%, and we're still not done, because now comes the really interesting thing, where he has 3 different finish skills. So basically, if you fail altogether with his whole kind of finishes, like his old charge count effect, like if you just fail at this whole thing, you only get the basic Kamehameha by himself. If you do get the charge count, but you don't get all 7 of the Dragon Balls, you get the Bros Kamehameha with just Gohan and Goten, so that's going to do a bit more damage, but that's it. But really, you want to strive for the Family Kamehameha, and you should be able to do this because he stands by in 5 turns, so you should have plenty of time to do this. But you know, with the Family Kamehameha, he's not only boosting his attack even more in terms of the charge counts, he's got attacks effective against all types, doing the super ultimate damage, and the charge count and everything. It's going to be so insane that this guy can honestly do some pretty crazy kinds of damage. So honestly, this guy is so good. This guy is just fantastic. And you know, if anything, my only criticism about this unit comes down to that first turn. If that first turn was not so dangerous for him, I would be a much bigger fan of this unit. But you know, that first turn, it really does kind of suck. I will say, it does kind of break my heart that his best damage potential is only on a standby, but that standby, man, that standby is so cracked. You know, his damage potential in general is so insane. It's just that first turn. That first turn really does kind of hold him back for me, and that's why I think number 2 is the right spot for him at this point in time. Now talking about my king, though, Super Gogeta. You can't spell Gogeta without spelling GOAT, and this guy is so fun. They start off as base Goku and Vegeta, but to be fair, this part of the unit is still very valuable because, as you may notice with the 12 and 18 key supers, they can stack their attack, which will pay off 10,000-fold once you go into Super Gogeta. They're also raising their defense for 1 turn, which is nice, and the passive skill is not too shabby either. You know, 40% damage reduction, which is good. You know, randomly orb changing to Rainbow Key Spheres is nice. Launching additional attack that's a great chance to become a super is great for, you know, the stacking and everything. Nice stat boost right here. You know, when attacking with 12 or more key, they're further boosting their stats with just 1 Rainbow Key Sphere, an additional guaranteed super, and further boosting attack right there. You know, for the first turn that they show up, and also when HP is 70% or less, they're getting an additional 20% to damage reduction and additional stat boost right there. So the base form is really nice, but still, this is like a prelude, right? This is just like us getting the popcorn ready before we see the movie, and the movie is Super Gogeta. And honestly, to get to Super Gogeta is so easy. It can be done starting from the 4th turn from the start of battle if your HP is 70% or more. So a really easy condition right there, and honestly, Super Gogeta is by far the best part about this unit. But also, before we go into Super Gogeta, let's just talk about this. The categories. The categories are really, really good as well. You know, Time Limit, Pure Saiyans, Super Saiyans, which is great with the trio support, Movie Heroes, Kamehameha, Fuse Fighters, Final Trump card, you know, Earth Protecting Heroes, which is the 10th anniversary category. So this unit is like on some really great categories for sure. So honestly, you know, you can make a lot of great use with this character for sure. But now let's go ahead and talk about Super Gogeta. So yeah, again, this is the best part about this unit, and honestly, we'll talk about the passive skill in just a moment, but the super attack effects are really good as well. 12 key, you know, raising attack and defense for 1 turn is nice. 18 key though, raising attack and defense for 3 turns, and also greatly lowering attack and defense on the opponent. So the debuffing is nice as well. The passive skill, this is insane. 30% HP recovery when he first fuses, right? So that's nice. Nice stat boost right there. Nice key. Performs a guaranteed crit in general, so that's built-in crit right there. 40% damage reduction. Orb changing once again. Greater key boost per rainbow keys for obtained. With just 1 rainbow keys for obtained now. An even higher attack boost right there. An additional guaranteed super. Guards all attacks guaranteed when 12 or more key, you know, further boost to attack and defense right there. And for the first 5 turns from the fusion, another 40% damage reduction before he attacks, so slot 1 is perfect for him. And also, he's able to have a scouter for the first 5 turns, which is so clutch. Also, when receiving an unarmed or like a melee super attack from an enemy, right, you know, who is hit by the character's 18 key first, right, he's able to nullify. And in general, when receiving a super, he has a high chance to dodge that super. So this character is honestly really cracked. You know, I mean, we talked about the link skills too. The link skills are really good for a fusion like Gogeta, but that's kind of obvious. What makes this unit so good though is that he has everything that you would want, right? You know, he has a lot of damage reduction, especially before he attacks, which is great for slot 1. You know, he has the built-in scouter, so this guy is honestly so good. And also, you can't see it here, but his damage output is really good. Like, it has some of the best potential if you are able to bide your time and to get the stacking to work in the base form. You know, I mean, this unit is really powerful. So honestly, I'm a big fan of this unit. This is why I have him in the #1 spot, is because, you know, the base form is really, like, it's really good and really decent and powerful, but the Super Gogeta phase of this unit is like so much better, you know, with the scouter and the guard and the damage reduction and the stat boost. This guy is insane for sure. So honestly, yeah, I think #1 is the right spot for Gogeta. Again, I think you could make the argument for all 4 of these LRs being the #1 LR based on what you like in a unit, and again, how much you like that specific thing. For the trio, if you like the 77% like defensive support, you could put them at #1. For Beast, if you like the taunt so much, you know, you could put him at #1. I mean, for like Kamehameha Gohan right here, the family Kamehameha Gohan, if you like that standby and the like all the damage and everything, you could put him #1. If you like Gogeta, for me, like, I like Gogeta because he has the scouter. He's able to build himself up. He has a bunch of damage reduction. He's able to work in slot 1, slot 2, and slot 3. He's an orb changer. He's able to work on a lot of powerful categories. He's really able to do a lot of great things, and he links really well with a lot of other really powerful characters. So all those things combined for me make Gogeta my #1 character as we go into the 10th anniversary. But honestly, I am kind of excited to see how this list is going to change as the 10th anniversary takes place in just a few days from now. So this is going to be very exciting for sure. But that is going to be where we have to end this tier list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Of course, if you did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your thoughts, and let me know again, what do you guys think about this tier list? Let me know that in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.